In this lesson, we're going to learn how to create and edit lights inside of View. Okay, so since the beginning, since we've created a brand new project and we've created an atmosphere, we've had a light system with us the entire time, and that's our sunlight system. And we've been able to move this sunlight system around and kind of play around with a little bit of the options just on a very, very basic level. But now I want to take a look at the sunlight at a more advanced level. So lighting, the way it works and the way that we modify it depends on the type of light that we actually have. So in our case, this is a sunlight. And you can see in your Aspects tab of your Scene Information bar, we have a couple of different options here. And we have things like lens flares, gel, the volumetric light, and even the shadows. Okay? Now we can click on either one of these and right-click on them, and we can adjust some of the options that way. Or we can just click on it a couple of times, and it'll bring up our light editor. And you'll see that we have all of these different tabs in here. So we have our gel, which is right here. We have volumetric, we have shadows and lighting, and then we have influence. Okay. Now these are pretty self-explanatory. The lens flare obviously is going to give you a little bit of a lens flare off of the sunlight system as it's pointing at the camera. Now it doesn't do you any good if the sunlight is behind the camera. Okay. Gel is kind of like a little filter, if you want to think of it that way. It allows the sunlight to project a color or even an image onto your scene. Volumetric light is light that fills up a specific area. Okay, it seems like it's got a little bit of fog and some particles in the light itself. Now right now I'm going to go ahead and keep that turned off. We have our shadows, where we can adjust the intensity and density of our shadows, and we could even choose what types of shadows it creates. So shadow maps, ray trace shadow maps, and we can even adjust the quality. Now in order to actually access these options here, we may need to make sure that we're using shadow maps altogether. Now I'm going to go ahead and just keep that off there. We go to lighting, and we can adjust light attenuation and its variable color. Now notice that a light attenuation is not does not have the ability to be modified, and that's simply because of the atmosphere that we've chosen. Okay, and then we have influence. Okay, and we can actually tell what this light can influence, what it can actually light up. And this is getting more into some very deep, advanced topics here, and really getting very meticulous with how the light works. So let's go ahead and just hit OK on this. And I'm going to bring my sunlight system around, and you can actually move this around and position it exactly where you want it to be. So I'm going to kind of position it behind the mountain here, really change up this scene altogether. So you can kind of see that we get a little bit of a hint of sunlight here. We have a little bit of reds kind of showing up. You can see the sun right there in the background just behind the clouds. If we want to pull that over a little bit to see it a little bit more. And we get kind of this eerie look. Now you'll notice that as we adjust our light, you can see that lens flare in the preview. Now I don't really want a whole lot of lens flare, and you can begin to see it in your main camera. That's what's flickering there. Now I don't want a whole lot of lens flare. I just want a little bit of influence on the sky itself. Okay. Now I could actually turn off that lens flare just by clicking on it and disabling it. I don't really need the lens flare. Okay. So now that we've talked about the sunlight system itself, this is very, very dark, and I want to create a scene that's a little more eerie. And it's kind of getting into the evening time. It's a little cloudy, and what I want to do is actually have this lake glow a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to bring in a light to help me out with that. So in our Objects toolbar, you'll see that we have lights, and you'll notice that there's a flyout menu. And if you click and hold on that, you can choose between all of these different lights that are available to you. So these first two are kind of like omni lights, and what they do is they project light in all directions, whereas the spotlights project the light in kind of a cone fashion. We have a directional light, which is more of like a sunlight system, and then we have a light panel that kind of helps us with trying to get kind of like a photo type effect on our light. You can put this on windows and that sort of thing. Okay, let's go ahead and just go with our point light. And I'm going to bring this into my view. And what I want to do is just put this right above my lake. And let's adjust the power of this light. And you'll see that the attenuation, the strength that this light has. And let's kind of pull this forward just a little bit more. And you can see how that's beginning to affect the lake itself. Pull that power up. Getting more and more. Now it looks like something's actually glowing in that channel. It's affecting more and more of the mountainside. Let's go ahead and just do a quick preview inside of here just to really see what's going on. So now we see that there is actually something inside of that lake there. Okay, we can adjust it if we need to. Okay, just to move it around. Now, let's go ahead and lift this above the lake. Now what this is really doing is beginning to light up the rest of our terrain. It's not really lighting up as if it's underwater. Now if we take that underwater, now it looks like it's just lighting up underneath. And that's what we're looking for here. Okay? Now, the actual options of lights changes based on the type of light that you actually have. So we have the point lights that we see already. And then we have spotlights, and there are a couple of different options under spotlights. Now, I do want to point out one specific thing with spotlights. We're not going to really keep this in here, but I wanted to show you how we can control the spotlight. It can be very difficult to control it and where it's pointing in our scene here because it's so large. And we know that we have power and softness and spread and fall off. Okay, those are pretty self-explanatory. But what we see here is this view through, and this is a really neat option because if we check it, we can actually see what the spotlight sees. And then we can begin to rotate this light and have it point in a specific direction. So if I want this spotlight to really accentuate this mountain, I can point it right at it and then begin to adjust the power. Okay, and I can adjust its softness. Okay, its fall off, and then even its spread. Okay, so this is what that light is affecting there. So if I wanted this mountain to just kind of be accentuated and to really put a lot of emphasis and draw the eye to that, I would put a light in there just to kind of light that up a little bit. Okay, let's take a preview of this, and it just kind of seems like this light is really lighting up this mountainside. Now, I don't really want that, okay? I was just kind of showing you a great way to handle spotlights themselves. So what I'm going to do is actually just delete that out. So you can select that, hit delete. Okay. Try it one more time here. New. And delete. There we go. Okay, so now we have our OmniLight. Let's go ahead and select it in our world browser here. And we can adjust the softness, we can bring that power up a little bit more, and we could even change the color of this. Now, changing the color of an object, okay, or of a light, you have to actually bring the values down into the grays to actually begin to see colors. So I'm going to make this kind of like a bluish green color. And make sure that it's saturated here. I'm going to hit OK. And we'll get kind of a different eerie looking color here. We can take that power up, and I'm going to adjust its softness and just kind of get that light to spread out a little bit more. Let's bring that power down. I don't want it to affect so much on the outside here. Okay, so you can really have a lot of fun with lights. They have multiple uses. They can be for creating elements like this. They can be for creating or kind of drawing the eye toward different areas in the scene. So, you know, really don't discount lights altogether. Just really great. Even though the options really aren't that tedious and that meticulous, you can still get a lot of power out of it. Okay, so I'm just kind of adjusting the color here. Let's hit OK. And take that power up a little bit more. And I just want that to look like that lake is just glowing there. Let's go ahead and do a preview. You can see how it's kind of lighting up the rest of the scene there. Right. Now this is just an example. Okay, so now that we've talked about lighting and how we can edit that lighting, we're going to go ahead and move into animation. Okay, so we're going to do something like animating some water or even animating clouds. We just kind of want to cover the animation portion of this just to kind of give you an idea of what you can do with it and how you can experiment with it. So I'll see you in the next lesson.